Dear Ambassador Nelson, a difficult year is behind us, a year full of challenges, sad, tragic moments as well, but also hope. How do you look at the past 12 months in Bosnia and Herzegovina?
Well, 2020 was certainly a momentous year. It was a momentous year for Bosnia and Herzegovina on several levels. First, like every country, Bosnia and Herzegovina has been battling the COVID-19 pandemic. Many loved ones have been lost, not only to the COVID-19 pandemic, but to other sicknesses. Many people have lost jobs and income. It's been a difficult year. But 2020 was also a significant year for several reasons. One, it was a time when we saw that in response to a shared threat like COVID-19, leaders could come together in Bosnia and Herzegovina and take responsible decisions and urge citizens to take action to protect lives. It was also a significant year because it was we marked the 25th anniversary of the Dayton Peace Accords. And in marking those 25 years was a time to look back on the accomplishments of 25 years of peace, and also to think about what comes next. What does the future hold, and what does the future promise? The Dayton Peace Accords, we certainly see that it created that solid foundation for peace, which has prevailed, which created the conditions for BIH to begin to rebuild itself, to rebuild democratic institutions, to enable hundreds of thousands of citizens to return to their homes after being displaced during the war. It enabled much rebuilding. As we look back over those 25 years, many citizens see still a lack of progress, that the country is not progressing quickly toward its goals of integration to the Euro-Atlantic community. And it's important to consider the reasons why and think about what can be done in 2021 to achieve progress. I think 2020 was also a significant year because I hope that all Bosnian and Herzegovinians had an opportunity to appreciate who their true friends and allies are. The United States I was very proud that our team was able to lead the NATO allies in being the first to respond and delivering medical supplies to help the armed forces and health authorities respond to the crisis back in March. We followed up with significant support since, also organizing NATO allies to do the same. And our partners in the European Union have been overwhelming in their support, very clearly in the lead of providing resources to Bosnia and Herzegovina to respond to the pandemic. So 2021 also, I hope, revealed to many people that Bosnia and Herzegovina has friends. And I hope they'll always consider that the United States is, I like to say, first among those.
Speaking of which, in early 2021, the 46th President of the United States will be inaugurated, Mr. Joe Biden. What Bosnia and Herzegovina and the region as well can expect in terms of his policy towards this part of the world?
I think all citizens in Bosnia and Herzegovina and citizens across the region can expect a continuing commitment from Washington to solidifying security and prosperity in this region, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, to helping Bosnia and Herzegovina achieve its aspiration of integration to the Euro-Atlantic community, to moving closer to the democratic societies of Europe and the transatlantic community. I know that citizens here can expect a continuing commitment of the United States to the fundamentals of the Dayton Peace Accord, the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And that support has a strong bipartisan character in Washington. So regardless of the administration, there's going to be continuing firm support for Bosnia and Herzegovina's success and progress. And after 25 years of investment, which now exceeds $2 billion of assistance to Bosnia and Herzegovina, that partnership, that assistance from the United States is going to be increasingly focused on helping Bosnia and Herzegovina achieve and progress on a journey to self-reliance, to fulfilling its sovereignty, achieving its aspirations, with clear, strong support from the United States for the will of citizens in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
You said it yourself, the year 2020 marks the 25th anniversary of the Dayton Agreement. You said on that occasion that it was the Dayton Agreement that stopped the war, but that this is the time for making steps crucial to the future of Bosnia and Herzegovina. How to achieve these changes, and can this country count on the support from your country in that process?
Yes, I will say again and again that the Dayton Peace Accords created a good foundation for peace. But that foundation for peace needs to be built upon. It's time now for continuing progress beyond simple peace, progress toward greater security and greater prosperity for all citizens. That will require greater commitment on the part of political leaders in Bosnia and Herzegovina to not be satisfied with defending the status quo, but to be focused on fulfilling the aspirations of citizens who overwhelmingly support progress toward, for example, candidacy in the European Union. These are aspirations that can be achieved, but Bosnia and Herzegovina has the capacity to do this, but it needs to begin to more seriously, in a more focused way, look forward to how the future will be different and better than the past. And that future is going to require reforms. For it to be better than the past, reforms need to be undertaken. Many of those reforms are difficult. None of them are impossible. And all of them are clearly spelled out in the EU's 14 key priorities, in the ODIHR and Greco recommendations for improving election fairness and transparency. All of these reforms can be achieved, but all of them will require consensus, dialogue, and compromise, because the support for those reforms needs to come from Bosnia and Herzegovina. I see clear support among citizens for those reforms. We need to see support among leaders for those reforms, and you'll continue to see the United States engaging with leaders to urge them and encourage them to reach compromise, find consensus, and agree on the reforms that the country so badly needs to recover from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, to advance rule of law, to fight corruption. So many issues, none of them are impossible to tackle.
Like you just said, Euro-Atlantic integration are an unequivocal request of the citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina, in particular young people. But how do you see the influence of certain actors of the international community, like for instance Russia, who are continuously exerting pressure?
One can see across the Western Balkans that sadly Russian influence and Russian actions have not have promoted the divisiveness, have not promoted progress toward Euro-Atlantic integration. That is the best future to guarantee greater security and prosperity for Bosnia and Herzegovina and all of its citizens. Bosnia and Herzegovina belongs to Europe, and Europe and the transatlantic community see the potential of Bosnia and Herzegovina to be integrated into that community. Bosnia and Herzegovinian citizens overwhelmingly seek that those values, those democratic values. Sadly, many of them vote with their feet and leave the country because they don't see adequate progress toward rule of law. They don't see adequate progress toward economic opportunity. Overwhelmingly, it's clear that Bosnia-Herzegovina belongs to Europe and its future is in Europe, the United States clearly supports that and strongly supports that aspiration.
In November 2020, local elections were held, and they gave hints of the possibility of change of certain political paradigms in Bosnia and Herzegovina. You previously said that some current Bosnian Herzegovinian leaders openly expressed doubts about their own ability to lead the country towards the future that the citizens want. Is it time for the new political paradigms and new faces?
I think it is time for the will of citizens to be prioritized and to be respected. Citizens are fed up with corruption. Citizens are fed up with the lack of opportunity, the lack of economic opportunity. Citizens are fed up with leaders who only defend the status quo and don't think about growth and expanding opportunity, expanding rule of law that would guarantee that every citizen of every ethnicity and gender and identity would be equal under the law and have equal opportunity. We can see citizens expressing this will increasingly when they go to vote. The local elections this year showed some surprising and encouraging results where citizens elected leaders who were promising greater accountability and greater commitment to fulfilling the interests of citizens, not just fulfilling the interests of political parties and those who are closely associated with them. So it is time for this will of citizens to be honored. And I am encouraged when I travel the country and I talk to people across the country who are not satisfied with the status quo, who say, this is my country, I love it, it's a beautiful country, I want to have a better future here. I should not have to leave the country to guarantee good opportunity and good government services and security to my children. That is possible here in Bosnia-Herzegovina. We see that especially among young people who know they deserve and can have a better future. And they're committed to building that. And that's one of the reasons that we're expanding. The U.S. Embassy is expanding its investment in developing young leaders, developing a new generation of leaders who are committed to building a better future for Bosnia and Herzegovina and not being stuck in the past and defending the status quo.
And finally, for the end, what is your message to the citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina on the occasion of the new year?
To citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina, I share your sense looking back at 2020 and seeing it as a year of loss. Many of us suffered personal losses during the year of loved ones. Many suffered loss of income and loss of economic opportunity. It was a very difficult year, but it was also a year when there were important moments of hope, moments when leaders came together to take important decisions to respond effectively to COVID-19. Leaders took important decisions to agree on a law that enabled elections in Mostar, local elections in Mostar for the first time in 12 years. 2020 was a time for me that reaffirmed the resilience and adaptability of Bosnian and Herzegovinian citizens. That is one of their greatest strengths, that against great adversity, they can overcome. The problems that they face, many of them are difficult, but none of them are impossible. And I hope that the political leaders will continue to understand that they can reach compromises and achieve reform. I hope that citizens will continue to urge leaders to take the important steps to build a better future. And I hope that citizens will believe in the potential of the country, believe in our own potential, that potential that's built on that resilience and adaptability. But that I see when I travel across the country, I see, for example, when I meet young entrepreneurs like Igor Peric, who, while studying for a PhD in Germany, met a biotech investor in Virginia, in the United States, who hired him as a director of research, and then followed Igor's advice and invested in an office for that company, Biomech, in Bijeljina, which is now employing more than 12 young Bosnian Herzegovinians. I see that courage and that determination to build a better future in a young entrepreneur like Erna Sosovic, who in Sarajevo is building her own company, a business-to-business platform called BizBook, that opens opportunity for local businesses to increase their sales and do better business. These are young people who don't accept excuses, who aren't discouraged by the obstacles, but are determined and succeed. And that tremendous potential is out there. But that potential is at risk of being lost because so many of those young people, that greatest talent of this country, decide they need to leave. They need to seek opportunities in Europe, in America, and elsewhere, where they know rule of law will give them those opportunities. To stem that brain drain, we need more moments of hope, like we had last year with the Mostar elections. We need more moments of hope, like agreeing on key reforms required by the EU, the 14 key priorities that would unlock candidacy status for Bosnia and Herzegovina. These are reforms that are not impossible. These are reforms that are already well spelled out. Reforms to conflict of interest, to reduce corruption, reforms to the procurement law, reforms to the e-signature law that would enable the country to continue to digitize and open more tech opportunities. There's tremendous potential out there, but without a commitment to reform, to not accept only the status quo, that potential remains limited. And the hope dwindles and the brain drain continues. So 2021 for me is a year when that spiral needs to be broken, and that it can be broken. In 2021, Bosnia and Herzegovina could achieve candidacy for the European Union. It's a simple list of reforms. It is possible. It will require compromise, dialogue, and commitment, but it can be done. It needs to be done to bring hope to the country, to unlock the potential of its youth, and to build that better future.